One of the biggest surprises, one of them in the league thus far, the Seattle Seahawks. They've won 3 straight, and they're 5-3. They're top last year, what was the best division in football, the NFC West. It's not that this year, although San Francisco, I think, is the best team in that division. They're only 4-4, but they're going to come up, I think, now that they got McCaffrey. I think they're really going to go on a nice run. But anyway, Seattle's playing well. And we talked about this all last year when it was clear Russell Wilson wanted out. And I was saying that I would get rid of Pete Carroll and keep Russell Wilson. They didn't do that. They got rid of Russell Wilson, traded him for a nice haul of picks and players, and kept Pete Carroll. And Rob, when they went to Geno Smith, remember, I mean, it's been clear for a while in the offseason that they were going with Geno Smith. I thought, hey, why not take a look at Kaepernick? You know, Pete had talked about Kaepernick like he was, you know,
he did everything except pull a trigger.
He did, right. He did everything but sign him. It was kind of ridiculous. But I thought they should. But now, at least through 8 weeks, Rob, you see why they didn't. They saw something in Geno Smith, and they probably saw him throwing well in practice yesterday or last year on the scout team. But he's playing well, Rob. He's been one of the surprises of this season, and they're 5-3. And what a redemption story for Geno Smith, Rob, because remember, he was great at West Virginia and has been, let's just face it, he's been a bust.
Right.
A
journeyman bust. He's been on a number of teams.
Yep.
But two things, Chris, and we did. Me and you, we definitely debated this a lot. And I know you were like, most of Pete Carroll's success has been when Russell Wilson was
in
there.
The NFL,
course,
yeah.
The Legion of Boom, and of course we know what he did with USC and blah 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 blah. But I'm gonna give it up to Pete Carroll. He's 70. He's like one of the oldest coaches in the league. He's like 70. He doesn't look it because he's so youthful.
He's a young
Chris.
70, yeah.
Right. Despite the gray hair, but he's a youthful kind of guy. And he's done a tremendous job. I got to admit. And I've been calling him Geno Pizza and Geno's Pizza and all that. I can't do that anymore. I'm going to give Seattle some respect. I'm going to give Pete Carroll. Chris, it's not often you give up a star quarterback in the NFL and not miss a beat. It just doesn't happen. We can sit here all we want and talk about it. And Geno Smith yesterday, Chris, that was a game. The Giants, I get it. It was in Seattle, but the Giants came in 6-1.
Yep.
Right? That was a game that the Giants could have won and then been like, no, we're for real. We went on the road and we beat Seattle and we're 7-1 and we're moving forward. And Geno Smith in the fourth quarter, Chris, played his best. That was his best quarter. 5 for 5, 75 yards, had a big touchdown pass, and they're winning. And you're right about redemption story because he was a cast-off and nobody wanted him. Remember, he's the one who broke Eli Manning's starting streak. You remember that?
Yep.
He was the guy that they put in, and that was Ben McAdoo, the coach. And who was the GM? My God, Jerry Reese, who won the 2 Super Bowls. Chris, Jerry Reese, the GM of the Giants.
Yep.
They got fired after that. Have you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
They got fired after that because and Manning was reinstated, but it was too late. His streak was snapped. They benched him.
Yeah.
They lost, and then those guys got fired.
City went crazy.
And people went nuts that Eli Manning got benched for Geno Smith. But I think Pete Carroll showed me something, like to rebuild on the fly, not to panic, not to be like.
He thought it was a good team.
Yeah, he did,
Remember,
Chris.
everybody thought they were essentially tanking.
I thought it was over.
He seemed to think it was a good team.
He liked the team, and he felt like he knew what he was doing, and that was time to move on from Russell. And you would have thought, all right, no Russell Wilson. Obviously, the Legion of Doom's been gone for years, Chris. So this thing is going, right, belly up and going the other way. And I'm not saying they're world beaters or they go into the Super Bowl or anything like that.
We got a ways to go. I mean,
right.
Russell Wilson was saying, who finally had a good game Sunday, in London. looked at times like the old Russ. We'll see if it continues, but he said it, right? He said it's a long season, and it is. They got 9 weeks left.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying this.
Look, I expected Geno to turn back into a pumpkin already.
Right, by now. Right?
Yeah, I definitely was thinking he wouldn't keep up 8 great weeks of play. But, Rob, he's third in the league in passer rating.
Right, those are real numbers, right?
Behind Tua and Mahomes. He's averaging 240 yards a game. He's been with the Jets, the Giants you mentioned, the Chargers, now the Seahawks. Like, it is redemption for him. And Carroll, I've talked about Carroll, Rob, in that he was great at USC. I mean, fantastic, right, at USC.
Whether it was above board or not, he was.
Right. Well, not, right? But in the NFL, he had been so-so. He'd been with the Jets, he'd been with the Patriots,
right,
and, of course, the Seahawks. And he'd only had like 2 or 3 winning seasons in his career up until he got Russell Wilson. Even in Seattle, he went 7-9 his first 2 years there. Wilson comes in, and so a lot of the defensive play, from the Legion of Boom, some of those younger guys, those defensive players joined the team too, and they took off. And then he and Wilson had and the rest of them had a great run. And I did think, okay, we saw Pete Carroll without Russ, and it wasn't pretty, and we'll see. Like you said, they got a long way to go.
Right, but it so is a good start. Good. I mean,
yeah.
I got to give them credit. I know oftentimes we like talk about stuff and we never revisit it or look at it. I just thought this was fair to Seattle to win that big game against the Giants, who've been one of the hottest teams in the league, Chris, and they had pulled out all these games in the fourth quarter, and instead it was Geno Smith. I think that game was tied 13-13. And then Geno had the touchdown to give them the lead, 20-13, and they win going away.
Well, look, they've won 3 straight and 4 of 5. Now, here's the teams they beat. They beat the Broncos, which was a huge game. Wilson's, as the opening game.
Sure.
And Wilson was back in Seattle, so that was big. They beat the Lions, edged them by 3. Beat Arizona without DeAndre Hopkins. Beat the Chargers. That's a good win. And beat the Giants. So they got another game. They got the Cardinals coming up this weekend. Then they got the Buccaneers, Raiders,
and
Rams.
Speaking of the Cardinals, my God, Chris, that is just ugly.
Yeah. It's I thought they might be able to pull it out this weekend against Seattle or against Minnesota, but obviously wasn't the case. And they're 2-4, Rob, and it is bad. And I didn't understand why they gave Kingsbury that contract extension.
Yep. Well, they got to live with it now.
We always said they shouldn't pay Kyler at this point. Then you kind of understand because you pay these guys right, and if he were to play well, it's just gonna go up. But Rob, he hasn't been good.
He hasn't been good. Not Chris. We looked at, remember that playoff game I was so disgusted by? I said, I don't even know if you could ever win.
Worst playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, with a guy who can play at that level, and obviously it's one game, but it was that bad, and it hasn't been any better. And Hopkins is back. I don't know what he did yesterday, but he's back for them.
Yeah.